Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to 2025. For all those still writing checks, how hard is that to do? I don't think too many people are writing checks
That's why I
anymore.
quit
Because
writing
who writes checks anymore?
Oh, I think I wrote one last year. That was about it. But no, it's 2025. We're happy to see all you here live on YouTube and the ILEETA website as well. So thanks for joining us. It's just me, Joe, and Todd tonight. We're going to do round robin, take some questions from the audience, from our members here. And if you have a question, just post it in the chat, or if that's not working, you can text either one of us, and we'll get to those questions. And I just want to remind everybody. Let me find this little graphic here. Pretty excited to announce this. Single digits to the ILEETA conference, 67 days to ILEETA 2025. Who is ready?
Oh man, this is going to be awesome. I can't wait. And you know what? Even coming up before that is the February 1st live fire and certification sign up that we got to get people to remember to do that, because there's a lot of things that fill up super, super fast. And if guys aren't right on the ball, they're going to miss out. So
if you want some trigger time and some shooting time, make sure you get that in February 1st, right, Todd?
Yep. Yeah, February 1st at 0800 Central Time. And it's not just the live fire classes, but a lot of those classes like the Benelli armor class and the AR armor classes, the live fire classes, any of the certification classes, some of them fill up super, super fast. And so you don't want to miss out if you really want to.
Absolutely. Yeah, that list can be found. So if you go to ILEETA.org and then under the conference tab, plan your conference, you find the course list. And at the very end of that, and there are, each day there's one on the 24th, 7, I think, on the 25th, 4 on the 26th, 6 or 7 on the 27th, and 5 on the 28th. I mean, there's something to sign up for every day, and some really good stuff. Like you said, Todd, like, people are already texting me like, hey, when can I sign up for? I'm like, same time as everybody else, at 8 o'clock on the morning of the 1st. I wish I could do something for you, but there's a competition to get into some of them, and I'm excited about that.
So another competition, there were 2 of us that used to have a kind of a side competition to see whose class could fill up the fastest. And so we were constantly on there to see if our class was full.
Nice.
Right. And there were years where, 10, 15, 20 minutes into the sign up, some of those live fire classes are full. So if that's something that is going to be on your plan, which you want to be on your agenda, you've got to make plans to get online on February 1st at 08 Central Time, so that you can
Eastern.
Get
08
on.
Eastern time.
Oh, 08 Eastern. Ooh.
Eastern. Yeah.
Ooh. See, and I almost threw a curveball to somebody, and they would have said, but.
Yeah. No, it's so right now everything is scheduled to go live at 8 o'clock Eastern time. So yeah, you want to be 7 o'clock on that Central Time zone, wherever you're at, Brian. You want to be there an hour earlier, whatever that one's called. And out there on the left coast, you want to be there even earlier. And I hate to do it, but we got to pick a time, and that's the one that works. That's actually, it's kind of set up that way in Wild Apricot right now.
Cool, man. That's exciting. Yeah. That's always been the. It's like it's really happening. It's really close. Point in time for me. So.
Yeah, make sure you get the right time zone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Joe, I got a question that was just texted into me from Jason. He said, we're almost 1 year into the new leadership team of ILEETA. What are some upcoming changes that you're excited about implementing?
Yeah, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too early, but there's some website facelift stuff coming, and we are super excited about that. A lot of things that just kind of make it a little bit easier for user flow, a little bit of facelift stuff, but pretty excited about what's happening there. We're We're bringing in a video crew this year to ILEETA to do some kind of highlight reels and that kind of stuff. We'll be doing some interviews. Kind of excited about that. Both of the crews that are bidding on it right now are just phenomenal teams, so it's actually a really difficult decision to make. But so we're going to see more in that space. But I'll tell you, I mean, by and large, Jason, I think one of the things that I said, remember, one of the first questions I was asked, what do I see changing? And I said, nothing drastic, no major changes. ILEETA is a phenomenal organization for what it is and how it became that. And it's a hold on loosely type of leadership, right? Like, you got to see what's happening. You got to understand what's happening. But at the same time, so many great things happen while we're looking the other way, trying to focus on something else because everybody's trying to do their part. So I would say not a lot of changes. You'll see a facelift like that, but no, by and large, this is a phenomenal organization. We love it just the way it is. And so little things here and there, but nothing major.
You've been working with ILEETA for a long time, Joe. As you stepped into that leadership role, what are some of those things that surprised you as you became one of the leaders of ILEETA?
Harvey's a genius, a magician of sorts. For me, the biggest surprise was his management of the schedule. I made the joke, it's like one of those puzzles, you move a piece and everything moves around. But, I was just telling one of the members earlier today that it's sure there's the time component of it, right? Like you got to make sure everything lines up time wise and then enough per block and that kind of thing. But there's also the finesse of knowing that this group of instructors works really well together and I can't have them all tied up at the same time. They want to there's a magic that happens when they're in each other's classes. And I think that's one of the advantages to having been with ILEETA and been to all the classes for so long. You kind of see that. But other than that, I would say the amount, I always knew the amount of esprit de corps and spirit and magic there was in the ILEETA membership. I think I see it differently now. And I'm just fascinated by the breadth of our team, even more than I ever was before. I think that would be the biggest for me. I wonder, if Ray and Jen and Jill are listening, I'm kind of curious, what you're seeing from your perspectives, but that's what I've seen.
Awesome.
So let me toss that back. I mean, both of you have been ILEETA team members for forever. You're deeply ingrained with the board and the different events you run. Your perspective over the last year, what have you seen?
I've seen more engagement. The ILEETA Live, we are getting a lot more members involved, especially those members that aren't well known to many. And I think that's wonderful to get, it's a membership of members. That makes sense. But, everybody has a role to play. It doesn't matter if you joined yesterday or if you joined 10 years ago. You are in this fraternity, in this family, and we want you to get involved any way that you see fit. Approach anybody in the leadership team and say, hey, I want to get involved. And I think that was one of the questions that I think somebody texted me that I'll tap into later. But Todd, what are you seeing?
I think more engagement, more communication. I think that Harvey's done a phenomenal job, but I think that anytime that you get kind of fresh blood, fresh perspectives, fresh ideas in, it increases the opportunity for new ways of doing things. And I think that this is one of those periods of time for our organization and our membership where those ideas now are kind of floating to the surface, and where instead of, well, it's not something we've done, it's like, well, why not? Let's go for it. I think that there's a little bit more of a perspective of, let's give it a try. Let's give it a shot. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't work, we've got a default setting and we can go back to doing what we were already doing. Right. and eventually what we're doing right now will plateau, and another group will come in and take it to the next level. And I think that that's absolutely critical. And I think that we're getting a really good foundation of good, young, excited, energetic members that are getting involved really quickly. And I think that that's a good thing. And they're bringing that energy and those ideas and perspectives. Because there are guys that contact me and say, "Hey, what do you think about?" I'm like, "Hey, I love it. Get in touch with Joe, get in touch with Ray." And I love hearing those ideas. And I think that that's strong. And I think that over the last year or two is I'm just starting to see a little bit more of it, and that's good. That's good for our organization.
ILEETA, the conference wouldn't be the conference if it wasn't for all the volunteers that are working so tirelessly behind the scenes and setting things up and doing things throughout the year to make this a wonderful, enjoyable, and meaningful conference. And a huge shout out to all those that work behind the scenes. But Billy had a question that kind of goes along with this conversation. What's the best way for returning members to get involved and help at the conference, such as volunteering, or what's some thoughts there, Joe, that veteran members or brand new members that want to get involved?
So I'm going to take the first swing at the answer here, but then I'm going to actually ask both of you, what have you seen over the years? Because I think there's a lot of things that happen in the pockets and the corners that we've all noticed even before we were in leadership positions, right? But from my perspective right now, reach out to Jen Merlin and let her know you want to be a volunteer. She's actually working on the volunteer matrix as we speak. And the other thing is, if you've got an idea that will improve ILEETA, bubble that to the surface, not just hey, I want to help, because we hear that all the time. And I think people genuinely come from the right position when they say it. And if we were to ask them to go do something, they would. But some of the best ideas have come from those who, I have a plan and I want to implement this, and here's the team I want to do it with, and approach us with that. And I would say, Ray is probably the right person to bring that to. But from my perspective, there's always those little times where if you're free and there's, setup happening somewhere, bag stuffing on Sunday, if you arrive on Sunday and you want to come help with that, obviously there's some setup around the, not the expo, but like the mats and that kind of thing. Although the St. Louis, recruits do a phenomenal job with that. So not really a lot to do there. But there is stuff happening with that. But I would say, just overall, find a spot, plug into it. And then that's how a lot of our key volunteers and staff members have kind of risen into the positions that you see them in today, kind of really, running the conference. We'd be completely lost without you. All their names, Roger and Anthony. I mean, just everybody, Mark, Jerry, I could go on and on, right? Yeah, absolutely. And the registration staff too, right? The folks working the registration tables, totally lost without their support. So, that's where I'm going to put it now, but I'll toss it back to you guys. Where have you seen it kind of to just find a need, fill a need?
From my perspective, I think that if you want to be involved in something, throw your name out there and talk with Joe, talk with Brian, talk with Jen, talk with Ray, and say, hey, if you need help with expo security, if you want me to take a spot during expo security, I'm available. Just let me know and throw your name out there. But I think that the biggest thing is that kind of the informal leadership. If you look for opportunities to be a leader as of the organization informally, the more formal stuff will kind of happen organically. Just kind of like being the tour guide for the new people, being, reaching out and actively looking for those new members that haven't been to a conference before, the the people that maybe only been to a conference, and helping them out figure out what they can get out of ILEETA and get out of the conference, get, how to take advantage of their membership, encouraging them to write for the journal, writing for the journal on a regular basis, those kinds of things. And if you have ideas, like Brian is a perfect example of this. If you have an idea of something that you can do to benefit the membership, i.e. ILEETA Live, put together a game plan and float the idea out there and see where it goes. Don't be afraid to do those kinds of things, because if not you, then who?
Absolutely. And it may be nobody, right? So like some of the best ideas. Before, Brian, sorry to interrupt, the one thing that we want members to do while they're at the conference is go to classes, go to the expo. And so if you have that free time, it's during lunch or you get there on a Sunday or whatever, but we would ask that, never let the opportunity to help get in the way of you getting really good learning, because there's so much happening. So we never want to discourage that. And we've had people, hey, I'll take a class to come help out. And last year, Brian, you may remember, since you kind of had the lead on it, the expo, the people that we had coming to the expo and doing those recordings. Now, the nice thing about the expo is there's less stuff happening then, and the expo is actually part of the learning experience. So they kind of got a first row seat in the class for that. But anyway, sorry to interrupt you, Brian. It just occurred to me and I didn't want to lose a thought.
No. I think Todd stole all our thunder, but just to add to that is be the ambassador of ILEETA. When you see somebody sitting by themselves at the at one of the restaurants, or in the hallway, sit down and introduce yourself, because this is more than just connections. This is, like I've said this, I don't know how many times in the ILEETA Lives, it's a family. This organization is a family, and the connectedness that we have throughout the year outside of the conference is wonderful. So make people feel at home and valued, even though you may not know them. Just take that initiative and say, hey, let's go have lunch. Let's go have some breakfast or something like that. But be the ambassador of ILEETA. And, Todd took it all. Todd,
good answer, man.
But it's such a big part of this organization, not just the conference. I mean, organization wide, our association is about engagement. If we're not engaged, and if we're not getting other people engaged, then our organization is going to stagnate. And unfortunately, when it comes to law enforcement training, there's been already too much of that, right? We need to get people more actively involved into seeing what we can do better and going forward, not just doing the same things that we've always done because it's our comfort zone. Grab that person that hasn't ever, that maybe's been to a conference or two, but they've never taken part in the ILEETA Cup, and say, you know what? You may be intimidated by this, but so is everybody else. Everybody else is experiencing the same nerves that you are, right? The same performance anxiety that you are. That is why we're here, so that we can go make each other better. Let's go do it together.
What's the ILEETA Cup?
Making sure that people are, putting together a team to go play cornhole. That if they don't know about Emerson Hour, get to Emerson Hour, go do all of those things that may be difficult for them, especially if they're an introvert, right? Because like for me, it'd be super easy just to go back to the hotel room where it's nice and quiet and decompress. And my comfort zone isn't a crowd of people. But during the conference, I go back to my room, change clothes, and get back out, right? Because got to maximize it. And there are some people that just they may need a little bit more encouragement in order to do that. So grab those people and help encourage them.
Todd, you mentioned Emerson Hour, and Jason had a question about that. for those that aren't familiar with what the Emerson Hour is, tell us about the Emerson Hour, and you're the new host of it. Are any new changes or anything coming up that you can talk about?
Well, I don't know that we're going to throw out the new sponsor yet. Joe?
No, absolutely. Yeah.
We
by
can?
all means. Yep.
So you want to talk about the new sponsor since you've been more involved in that end of things than I have?
Yeah, just briefly, I'll share very quickly and then turn it right back over to you. Warrior's Heart has come on this year as the sponsor for Emerson Hour, and many members may remember Mike Murata. Used to come to the conference. He's now their executive director at the facility in Virginia, and they are a full inpatient treatment facility for veterans and first responders. Primarily around addiction, but also all mental health crisis. And so phenomenal organization, and just truly honored to have them with us this year and to be a part of that once again. That's awesome.
I'm really looking forward to this. And as far as changes, no, I'm terrified going into my first year as the MC or host. So there's absolutely zero chance that I'm going to make any big changes, especially this year. Going forward, maybe. But if they are, there'd just be little tweaks here and there. There wouldn't be anything big. I think that Emerson Hour kind of speaks for itself and kind of carries its own weight, and it's up to me just to kind of guide it along. For those of you that aren't familiar with Emerson Hour, it is absolutely one of the highlights of the conference week. It happens Monday evening at 1900. It's 1 hour. We have 6 speakers that have 9 minutes apiece to answer Ralph Waldo Emerson's question of that he would when he would meet up with some of his friends and colleagues, he would ask them a question. And that question was, what has become clear to you since we last met? And so they have 9 minutes to answer that question without the use of any visual aids or anything like that. It's just them, a microphone, and a couple hundred of their closest friends. And so we've got what I would consider a pretty spectacular lineup this year. I'm glad that the people that I asked to be part of Emerson Hour all agreed, because that was the first thing that I was terrified about, was people saying no, right? Because that's the easy default position. Because 9 minutes to answer that one question in front of that many people without visual aids or anything else it's scary. You guys know how scary that is. And so I think that we're going to have a really good lineup of speakers, and I'm super jazzed to hear what comes out of it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and so hope you join us.
Hey, so I have to be honest with you, man, not knowing this year has been like one of the most like painstaking things. So I don't even know, folks. Like, it is, when we say it's a secret, like I didn't tell Brian Willis who they were when I took over as the MC. Todd has carried on that tradition. And like, there's a part of me that's like, I wonder if this one is but I have no idea. And it's super exciting now to get to go this year for the first time and sit in the audience and wonder who the speakers are. I'm looking forward to that.
Man, I'm telling you, we have an all-star lineup. This is super exciting to me. I'm waiting for that shoe to drop. That one unexpected event that life happens, and somebody can't be there and whatnot. But man, I'm telling you, this is a spectacular lineup, and I'm really excited to hear what comes out of this. So,
me too, for real.
Everything that ILEETA has to offer is a must attend, but you need to go to the Emerson Hour. I mean, it's the most scariest and most rewarding thing that I've ever done at the same time. And Carrie, yes, that is Tim behind my shoulder back there, sitting there. And I think Todd's on the other side somewhere.
Yeah.
If I move over.
There
Todd's back there.
But yeah,
James,
it's one other thing on Emerson Hour. it shocks me that there are people that have been to the conference for years and years and years that have never attended Emerson Hour. And so I was amazed by that. The more that I learned about the duties and responsibilities of being the MC, and people are coming like, what's Emerson Hour? I'm like, you've been going to the conference for 10, 12, 15 years and you've never been to Emerson Hour? Come on. It's shocking to me. And so if you know somebody who hasn't been to Emerson Hour, get them to the audience, get them involved, and get them there, because it's one of those events, I should say, that it could be hilarious, it could be tear jerkers, and it could be both of those within 9 minutes time. So it could be an emotional roller coaster.
And it sets the tone for the conference. There are things that will be brought up there that are talked about on Wednesday night at the hospitality suite, or it'll come up in classes. And so it really does. It sets the tone kind of. And then the other thing is too, what I love about it is the authenticity is a reminder to all of us to be authentic that week. We get 9 people, and like you said, this all-star lineup, and there are going to be some heavy hitters there that when you see them be authentic, it's a reminder to you that, okay, I can be authentic. I can show the real me because so-and-so did last night. And I enjoy that about it. And I feel like it kind of opens up the aperture on that. Brian, I think I interrupted you.
Oh, no. It's ILEETA's version of a TED Talk. Only 10 times better.
Yeah. The vulnerability of the speakers, the bearing of their souls is what really pulls people in.
Yep,
absolutely. So Jason asked me a question, and he wanted to know about the ILEETA Trainer of the Year and the deadline and nominations. So February 1st, if you know an exceptional trainer that has gone way above and beyond the call of duty and done some amazing things as a law enforcement trainer, instructor, there's a process where you can go and just nominate. Was it in the latest ILEETA blast, Joe?
It is in that. And then also when you go to the website under the annual conference, the 4th or 5th one down, when you hover over conference and go to it's Trainer of the Year right there. And so we've already got, I think we have 6 nominations right now, and kind of reading through them, there's some good ones in there. So by all means, get it in. You got 2 weeks left. Get those nominations in.
Awesome.
Hey, Brian, I've got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
What? Looking forward to this year and what you've got going on at the conference and what you got planned and the things that you are looking forward to. What's the top 2 things on your agenda that you want to accomplish at this conference?
Well, I'll do 3 because one of them is a given. It's attend the Emerson Hour, but that's a given. The other one is make new connections. Find somebody that I've never met before, some new members, and get to know them, and not just connect with them one time during the conference, but stay connected with them throughout the year. I think that's important as well to maintain that connection. And the other thing is I'm looking forward to attending some training there's a lot of new instructors that I don't know, and I'm really looking forward to getting some training in from a brand new breed of ILEETA members and instructors that haven't taught here before. So those are 3. I'm an overachiever. I guess I gave you 3, but those are my 3. So I'm going to throw back to you, Todd. What are your 3? Or 2? Or 2.
I'll throw 2 out there, and I'm going to mirror one of yours. Actually, it's the new instructors. I've been to the conference enough to where I started kind of pigeonholing myself into going to see certain people. And over these last couple of years, I've made a concerted effort, been much more intentional about the classes that I'm attending. I want to see instructors that maybe I've never heard of, that I've never attended their classes, or I've never actually met, and I want to see what they are offering. And then the other thing that kind of dovetails on that is that I want to attend a lot more classes that are outside of my comfort zone, things that are not in my wheelhouse, right? That challenge me to improve my skills. And the person who really planted that seed was Z. So Antonio, where a couple of years ago at an Emerson Hour talk, his presentation was, basically finding your inner rookie, right? And that was it really struck home to me because when we first start out, we are much more curious about things that we don't know a lot about, and then as we start getting more experience, we start getting more comfortable in our own world, our own space. We have a tendency to focus on that space, whether it's firearms or use of force, or armor issues, that realm. And the last couple of years, I've wanted to branch out more into the PowerPoint, the drone world, the computer AI tech thing that I am completely uncomfortable with, right? But I think that will help me as an instructor, both in my classroom presentations and relating to the 20-somethings and early 30-somethings that are in our classes, and just growing my own curiosity. So I think those are the two things that I really want to focus on. But I'll throw actually a third one out there, and that is getting to know some new people so that we can bring more fresh blood into the journal, into ILEETA Live, into the organization. And because we are not going to be we're not the 15-year future of the organization, right? And figuring out who those people are and helping them get established, kind of big on my list. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, so you both stole the thunder on the new people, but I will add this to that the lineup this year for new folks at ILEETA is phenomenal. Like first time, like watching the registrations, even first time registrations. Although I will throw this up there real quick with Katie's comment that it is important to the older folks are just as excited to come back to the conference. I would say this though as well, that it's just phenomenal, the number of new people. So I'm excited about that. And to kind of springboard off that is, like you said, the networking piece of it. Like I'm looking forward to meeting some of those new folks and introducing them to folks who I've known for decades now. I've already done it a couple of times. Like, hey, do you know so-and-so? Because I'm seeing this kind of thing happening here. And there's some really cool stuff happening with that at the conference. The other thing that I would add, and a little bit unique, I was buying myself a little bit of time to think of something you hadn't said already, either of you. Here's what I would say is that, like take the Tuesday night social, for instance, Milo and Command Presence have done a phenomenal job with that. I'm already seeing things that they're excited about, taking it to the next level as far as how we're going to just lay out the room, the cornhole piece of it that John Bostein is working really hard on. But I'm going to let the cat out of the bag on this one tonight. The authors event. Remember how in the past, the authors event would sometimes be in a hallway. Harvey and Mary Grace would always find space to give our authors something. Well, working with the team this year, we figured out that that space that night, leaving the expo, there's a great time for that transition to for the authors to have their own space. And so I am kind of looking forward to seeing how that evolves this year as well. So thank you to Milo and Command Presence for kind of giving us the opportunity for that, something in the evening, and there's still space there for that to happen. So I'm very excited about that.
Thanks. Good question, Todd. Actually, I think it was Billy or somebody sent that almost same question in. So you thinking ahead there. Hey, I just wanted to circle back to the Emerson Hour. The other day I was looking for an Emerson Hour video from Chip Huth, and I noticed it wasn't on our YouTube page, but there is a page on the ILEETA website where it is at. So there's a couple of different places where you can go and review some of those awesome talks. If you've never seen an Emerson Hour talk, check out our YouTube channel. Go on to the explore the ILEETA website. There's a lot of great information and value that you can gain from just perusing the website of ILEETA.
Two things on that, Brian, real quick. So all the Emerson Hour videos are under resources. When you go there, there's a tab for Emerson Hour. So there was a time, and this is one of the things we are working on fixing it. Like I said, little things behind the scenes are the big changes, right? There are 2 YouTube accounts where things had been placed in the past. So just kind of bringing all of those under one umbrella. The other thing that you'll notice on the website already, and it's going to improve, is say I want to, and I just did this the other day. Thank you very much to Carrie Avery in an article she wrote that I cited in a paper I'm writing for school, or wrote for school. I went onto the ILEETA website, typed in what I was looking for in the search box, and found articles related to that. And so as we get all of the journals on there, you're going to be able to search our website for an article Todd wrote 5 years ago. And these are all still incredibly relevant. That, many of them are conversations I don't think ever finished and really need to be revisited. And some really add good fodder to the conversation that's going on right now. Tommy Dvorak, for instance, wrote an article many years ago on what if Alexa was an FTO? This is back in like 2018, right? Today, so I sent him a note and said, hey, what do you think? Like, where are you on this? And he said, let's talk. So we're going to actually meet up sometime and actually have a conversation about where he's at on it and see where it goes. But yeah, there's so much good, relevant stuff there. Anyway, sorry.
Oh, no,
that's awesome.
I'm going to have to go back and find that article and reread that. There's some great content and great information in those journals. And, speaking of the journal, if you are teaching at the conference this year, you have until February 10th to do a short 1,000 words, strictly 1,000 word article about what you are going to talk about, what you're teaching at the conference. And we'll get that published. And we just need that by February 10th. And you can get that to me, Carrie, Dan, or Kim Schlau. And we'll get that published. And typically the conference journal is pretty big. So the earlier you can get those articles in, it will help Carrie out immensely. I know she spends a lot of time and hard work on the journal, and Carrie, good job on everything that you've done in the past and continue to do with the journal. It's a fantastic resource for all of our members.
Hey, Katie just asked a question. The next journal, when does it come out? That's a great question. So the draft is almost ready. It should be here relatively soon, probably by the end of this month. I don't want to throw Carrie under the bus. So if do you happen to know, Brian?
I do not know. I think Carrie,
she was here with us just a little while ago. So, Carrie, if you've got an estimated date on it, but I would say by the end of the month. I know it's in the review process as we speak.
Yeah,
and there are some phenomenal articles in there.
Yeah, a lot of hard work goes into that journal, and sometimes the formatting really gives us some issues. But
especially when Joe sends a last minute ad that she's got to put in there. Should be this week, she said.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you, Carrie.
I don't know how she finds the time to do the journal and her business and everything else. I mean, because she's active. She's a very active ILEETA member. Plus her life outside of it.
She has a life outside
rolling
of it.
around on the mats, and I mean, she's like a superhero.
Right.
Sheesh, I don't know how
we had that that roundtable thing we did. Unfortunately, you weren't able to do it, Todd. You were traveling, but her and Lawrence showed up to it. It was kind of nice to see everybody. That's one of the things. So a couple of things we're going to try to do moving forward is more of those. It's a little bit different than this because we actually do it on Google Meet. You have to sign up for it, and through Wild Apricot to get the invite. But then it just becomes a conversation amongst ILEETA members, and it's actually a really fun thing to do.
Yeah, right.
No doubt. And well, if there's anybody who has, it probably is, because she's leaning into it probably farther than any of us that I can think of right now. But really enjoyed that. That's one thing that's going to happen. And then also, we've looked at a lot of ways that we can keep members engaged throughout the year. And so what to look for after the conference is a very intentional webinar series, largely based on instructor development and looking at that from all different angles, whether it is the technical stuff about, really getting into the nitty gritty that, Antonio Zazzosa or Dan Fraser can take us into on slideology and the psychology behind how to set up your visuals, or the storytelling component of it, or the AI piece of it, or just instructor development, how to put together a lesson plan, how to evaluate training, a lot of great stuff to be, she's cloning herself on AI. I have no idea. It actually kind of scares me a little bit. But no, the little things to look forward to for after the conference. But yeah. So the Tuesday night event, I do kind of want to revisit that with you guys. Thoughts on it? Like, I've watched that grow over the years. What have you seen, and what are your thoughts on the Tuesday night social event?
So much fun.
Damn.
So much fun. The last year and was it the year before with the dinner that we had? That was awesome.
Yeah.
And then the cornhole tournament that Command Presidents and Milo have put together last year was it was so much fun.
Yeah.
The amount of participation was phenomenal. It was great to see everybody down there. Whether you were good at cornhole or if you're like me, you kind of suck at cornhole, it didn't matter. It was just so much fun. I had such a great time. I loved it. I think it's a huge part of the conference because it's an opportunity for everybody to get together, especially early in the week, and make some new connections. Get to know some of the newer people, and now you get to see them the rest of the week, right? And I think that initially I missed the Friday evening get together, and I still kind of do, because it's kind of the last time to kind of see everybody in one area. But I think that that having it earlier in the week is better for making those connections earlier in the conference that we can leverage throughout the week. I think it's great.
I think Brian and I hit that button at the same time. Yeah, no doubt. It is like watching those connections be made. And I think that's another fun part for me, because last year was the first year I was thinking about it from a leadership perspective. The years prior to that, I was always looking at it from the get in there and network, and and when I say network, I mean it in the true Brian Willis sense of that word, that it is about connection. It's about making new friends. And I've made new friends off of those events over the years that I stay in touch with.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but watching it from the synergy and the electricity that happens in that room. And I was talking to John Jones from Milo the other day about how they were starting, early on with the whiskey nights, and just kind of bringing in these whiskey tasting sort of things, and bringing people together on that event. But the way they enabled that to become like a one of those sought after, everybody must attend things that isn't, I mean, yes, there's whiskey there and there's a little bit of whiskey tasting piece, but it's not about the whiskey as much anymore. It is truly about the networking and the getting together and the fellowship. And I think that is, they said thanks to them for putting it together over the years, all the great work they did in making that possible.
Yeah, it was a the funnest event I think we've had in a long time. Even a couple of people even had T-shirts made with their team on it. I don't remember, was the retired something, I can't remember what it was, but I think KD's watching here. But
whatever that was, Katie, if you let us know. I don't remember what the shirt said, but
retired but not expired.
Yeah, that's it. Retired but not.
What is it? What was it?
Retired but not expired.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, KD and Dwayne, and I texted Dwayne before our live tonight, and he's having dinner with Coach. So, man, cool. That would have been a great person to get on here if we could have swung that.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
We all miss Coach, and great guy, great guy. But yeah, the event, I had a partner that I didn't meet until that night, and it was just a phenomenal, fun time with some new friends and new connections. And I think going forward, challenge everybody, get a partner that you don't know and get to know them and have some fun and stay in touch with each other throughout the year. Fun times. Really looking forward. I'm excited. The more I talk about the ILEETA conference, the more anxious I'm getting. And yeah, what'd I say? 67 days? Was that it?
67. Yeah. So cool. And between that, now we've got the authors event. Then we want to keep the events to a minimum so that they're highlighted, that they become these great things. But there are a lot of other things that happen throughout the week that we really want to kind of zero in on. One of the things that's a little bit different this year is when up in the Pegram room for the expo, how sometimes it was used, it was always just kind of sat there rather empty. One of the things that is changing this year is it's going to be, I'm going to call it a petting zoo. I don't know if everybody likes it when I call it that, but that's what I'm going to call it. For all the technology stuff, like that's where the VR type stuff is going to be. There's some really cool stuff that's happening up there. But in the center of it, because it's such a big room, we're adding some of the high top tables. And so how you go out to the food trucks and you get your lunch, and then you come in, you try to find a place to sit. Well, there's now a place to go up there and congregate and kind of spend a little bit of time together. They got the high top tables. So I would encourage everybody, find those lunch times to kind of connect with people, not just during the expo, it'll be there all week, but definitely during the expo. Spend your lunches up there and get to see some of the vendors.
That's a great idea. That is a huge area, and I think that will benefit everybody. That's
true story.
Cool beans. And I don't know. I'm sure Kim is doing her Sunday night. Oh, Todd, a question for you. What happened to the tiki bar?
The tiki bar has seen its better days. It was exposed to the elements here in Texas for too long, and so it's been kind of stripped down and kind of repurposed. It's now the frame of it is a planter. I've got the sign that was on the tiki bar hanging in the barn, so kind of as a permanent reminder of that. But the rolling frame is now a planter that we can kind of roll out of the weather when it's cold, and leave outside when it's nice. But yeah, it's still hanging in there but in a different format. Yeah.
Nice.
The other good thing about ILEETA is there's a lot of great stories that come out of ILEETA. Some good, some bad. Some locking their roommate out of the room. Yeah, there's some great events that you will never forget. It's a very memorable conference, even though we're there to learn. we're there to have some fun as well. And, what's learning without having a little bit of fun and kind of razzing each other once in a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one of the amazing things about the ILEETA conference is that, unfortunately, there's a lot of command staff that they see the word conference and they kind of think of, well, let's be frank, IACP, where everybody's there on opening ceremonies wearing their fancy outfits, right? And they're there for the social stuff. But a lot of command staff disappear during the week at IACP and they go golfing or they go, to the beach or, whatever it is that they do. And then they come back to be seen at the social stuff. ILEETA is a lot different. ILEETA is you're there, you're excited about taking classes, about going to classes. You get a whole bunch of different topics under your belt, and then you also have the hospitality stuff afterwards. But the training doesn't stop, right? It's the hospitality and social events. There's as much training and training value that happens at the cornhole tournament. Or after Emerson Hour at hospitality that there is during the day in classes. It's amazing. It's like, that's what I tell people. It's like, it officially starts on Monday at 08 at opening ceremonies, but it really just doesn't stop until you quit each day and just throw in the towel and say, I just need to go back and get some sleep, or I need to go get my workout in, or whatever it is. It's nonstop training, because almost all of the conversations in the hospitality are training related,
yes,
which is completely different than a lot of other, so-called conferences. And I think that's what makes it different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love when several years ago, I was talking to, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, I was talking to Lou Hayes. I haven't seen him at a conference in a while. I've actually been kind of poking him in the ribs about coming back. But when we were talking, we said, when we first started going to these sorts of events, what attracted you? What did you go to? And, both of us kind of resonated on it was fun to roll on the mats. It was fun to, do this, but over time it became more, and you were kind of alluding to this, more about some of the technical things or the leaning into the spaces I wasn't comfortable with. And now watching in I'm going to call it the bar. It's that area that Brian's sitting in there. For those of you who haven't been with us, don't think a bar like the normal bar, but there is one off to the side over there. It's this big open space where so many conversations happen. And what's really cool is watching a person who presented earlier that day on neuroscience, sitting down with a field training officer presenter, or just a group of trainers that are there not even presenting, and having that sort of in-depth conversation that doesn't necessarily happen in the classroom, but there's this synergy that happens where now this person who was the subject matter expert in the classroom earlier is absorbing all of this really great feedback, different perspective from the audience they have there right now. But there's also the random firearms instructor that comes by and says, hey, that's how this would fit in this space. It's so damn cool to watch.
It is. It's amazing.
Even cooler to participate in. Now I'm looking at it a little bit differently, but I remember sitting on a couch years ago with the two of you actually, and just having this great conversation. Somebody called me in the middle of it, I won't drop names here, and said, wouldn't it be cool if the three of you were to work together someday? I never imagined it would look like this, but here we are now. Like somebody who had seen each of us during the conference that day and thought it would be pretty cool. I think so.
Yeah.
Anyway, I agree with that person today. That's for sure.
Well, whoever it was made a good suggestion. I remember, talk about rolling around the mats. This was back in Wheeling in the Chicago area. And I don't remember what year this was, but Frank Shamrock was teaching a class on ground fighting. And so I was a big ground fighting guru back then and loved doing it. And it was an honor to be in his class. And here I see these two older gentlemen, Larry Smith and Joe Troncali, and both probably in their 70s, still throwing each other around on the mat. I mean, those guys, that's what ILEETA is about. You never stop learning. Doesn't matter how old or how young you are, you're still adding value and putting some stuff back into your noggin and skills and keep on going. That's what ILEETA is all about.
True story.
So guys, what do you have going on during the conference? What are you presenting? Talk about that.
Sure. We got 5 minutes left. I'm doing an instructor development class on presentation skills, and a little bit different this year, but still going to add. There's 2 or 3 guys that always come every year and said, I need to do this. I have a drill, and you know the drill, Todd. You've asked it. I learned it from Toastmasters and tweaked it a little bit, but we get up. It's more of a workshop to where you got to come and get up and present a little 2-minute presentation, and you are there in front of peers, and it's going to, for some people it stresses them out a little bit, but afterwards they say, this is one of the best things I've ever done. And there was a chief from Tennessee who was in my class a few years ago. I haven't seen him last year or 2, but he emailed me not too long ago and said he still uses that drill in his training environment. So it's a fun drill, and it's just a little teaser. So if you want to know more about the drill, come to my class.
Very cool. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, thanks. So I wasn't going to present this year, actually, because there's so many phenomenal. We had to make some hard cuts. Saturday morning, though, I am going to do a presentation on Be That Leader Now. There will, you know how it is on Saturday mornings. I don't know if either of you have presented. Brian Willis also presents, so I just acknowledge the fact he's going to get more people in class than me. It just is what it is. But if anybody is interested in a perspective on leadership, regardless of position, understanding your influence and being able to make changes in your organization, and you're there on Saturday morning, what we've decided to do is Harvey, Brian Willis and I are going to each take one block, and we're going to kind of checkerboard it for 2 sessions back to back. And if folks are around and they want to attend, great. But we'd love to see you. So it's very much about understanding influence and being the leader that's needed in the moment at that time, regardless of position.
Those Saturday morning,
interesting one tonight.
Those Saturday morning classes, those are tough because everybody's exhausted from the week, and there are people that many people leave early, and they so that they can travel home and have maybe a day before they go back to work and everything else. But if at all possible, I want to encourage people, hang out for that Saturday, those Saturday classes, because I got to tell you, some of the best opportunities that I've had to sit and talk and converse and learn from people have been on that Saturday. Yeah. Whether it's in classes or in a break or immediately afterwards, where everybody's kind of decompressing and people aren't rushing around all over the place. It's almost a different atmosphere on Saturday, and it's at the end of a week, it's kind of refreshing. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I am looking forward to it. So I do want to hear about yours, though, because I'm excited about this panel and the way you're going to do it this year.
So I'm not doing a live fire class this year. This will be the first year in a long time that I haven't done a live fire class. We've got a great lineup of live fire classes, and I'm really excited to see how those come together. But instead, we're doing a firearms training panel. So Masada Ayub he did a deadly force panel in the past. This isn't going to be that. This is going to be specifically about firearms training, about where we are and where we're going, what the future of firearms training is. And the panelists are going to be all of those phenomenal instructors that are doing live fire classes, like Josh Logan and Billy Etheridge and Noel Aher and Zach Stewart, Art Applin. They're going to be part of the panel, and our focus is going to be, where are we and where are we going? So it's going to be pretty exciting. I think it's going to be fast paced because we're going to do it in an hour and 45 minutes. We're going to do it once. So we're not going to rehash the same topics and keeping the panelists just strictly to people that are presenting live fire classes, because there are some amazing firearms instructors that aren't presenting live fire classes that aren't going to be part of the panel. But I hope that they're going to be in the audience and participating from that angle. So kind of cool to see where this is going to go.
Absolutely. We have 3 panels this year and super excited for yours to be one of them. John Bostain is facilitating a use of force panel, and kind of piggybacking off of Moss's perspective on it, but kind of opening the aperture a little bit. I think it'll be a very good one, but kind of carry on a little bit of that legacy. And then Robert Cole is facilitating a future of training panel, which I think is going to be kind of an interesting exploration of some of the directions that we can and should be looking into. So
those are going to be phenomenal. So encourage people, get there and participate in those. They're going to be thought-provoking, I think.
Absolutely. Hey, Brian, can I throw this one up real quick? It's the guidebook.
Absolutely.
So the Caliber Press guidebook app is due out. My goal was to have it out probably the end of this week, beginning of next, but that's not going to happen. What we're trying to do this year is a little bit more intentional about connecting instructors and classes, and it gets a little bit technical, so we need Guidebooks help with it, and they're going to help us, but unfortunately the person doing that is on vacation. So we're a little bit delayed on it, but the goal is get it out earlier so people can start networking. So look for the Caliber Press guidebook app on 1 February.
And that guidebook is a huge resource for everybody. So for all you first timers, make sure you download that and get on there and start planning your conference through that. But we're right at the end of the show here, but I want to go around the horn. Todd, final thoughts.
If you haven't been to the conference before and you're going this year, reach out to one of us or reach out to somebody who's been at the conference for some suggestions, guidelines, learn from some of our mistakes that we've made in the past about kind of maybe pigeonholing ourselves into certain topics and not branching out. Make sure, even if you have been to the conference before, get to the Sunday evening event about introduction to the conference. Make sure you're there. There's another event going on that night, and you should probably be there too. I don't have any of the details on that yet, but that'll be forthcoming. But get to that introduction to the ILEETA conference, because even if you've been to the conference, that is where you can hear other people's experiences and maybe make those your own.
Thanks, Todd. Joe, final thoughts?
Yeah. So I would just say start planning your conference now. It is so much that can happen, in one time block. Take advantage of the opportunity to plan in advance. Have those conversations with your agency. Here are the things I want to do for me. What do you need me to do so that I can bring it back to the organization and have a plan for that, something that you're going to take away from the conference. And then lean into whatever discomfort you're feeling and take advantage of the opportunity to grow and make the most of that.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Well, as we wrap this up, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. This was a very wonderful chat tonight with a bunch of nuggets of wisdom for anybody that's going to the conference, whether you've been to conference several times or if this is going to be your first year coming to the conference. I think save this and review it and get some more nuggets of wisdom. But I just want to review a couple of things. The ILEETA Journal, if you're teaching at the conference this year, February 10th is the deadline to get your article in. And again, a strict, hard 1,000 word limit, no more than 1,000. Carrie will let you know if it's more. But 1,000 words, and Carrie's pet peeve, 1 space after the period. Those of us that have used typewriters in the past, it was 2 spaces. We don't use typewriters anymore. So 1 space after period. Okay. Trainer of the year. We talked about this earlier. It's due February 1st. Go on to the website I think it's on the ILEETA Blast. Get that information there. If you know somebody that's done an exceptional job as a trainer in law enforcement, and Joe, doesn't have to be an ILEETA member, does it? Nope. Doesn't have to be an ILEETA member. So just nominate those people that you think are deserving of such a prestigious award.
You win the Trainer of the Year, we're going to cover the membership, so they will be a member. That's what a prestigious honor to be acknowledged by your organization. Somebody nominates you, and then to be voted on by all of the previous winners. It's so by all means.
Absolutely.
It's shocking.
Absolutely. And nobody knows who the Trainer of the Year is until they announce it. And it's wonderful time, wonderful event. So without further ado, again, thank you all for joining us. We went a little bit over your time. We know your time is valuable, and we will see you next month on ILEETA Live, and we'll see you in 67 days in St. Louis. You all have a wonderful evening. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.